We're live. Yeah, Dom, you got an announcement, dude, because you talked to some of the local authorities.
Which one of these works? Does this work? Oh,
Yeah.
this one works.
Hello.
Yeah, basically the way this works is if you don't text people in the conference right now to come to our talk, the fire marshal shuts this down for today
Wait.
and tomorrow. So if you got a VIP thing, tomorrow doesn't happen. So
Wait,
I think
so
it's
what-
fair.
What was the question we need to answer here? It was, what was the most degenerate thing we did as teenagers? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I could kick this off if you
All
guys
right, this
don't
is
mind.
going to get weird. By the way, wait, before we dive in.
I feel
There's any
weird breaking
children-
up the family right now.
This is, dude, switch. I got to be next to Josh, dude. No, I'm just, if there's any kids in here, get them out of here. I'm in utter disbelief that Swan fucked up this much and is allowing the three of us on this stage together with
without
no
parental
chaperone.
advising at all. Nothing. When I'll kick this off because I don't think the two of you are going to beat this.
Okay.
I'm going to have to tone this down for here, but when I was 16, my buddy and I, we stopped at a gas station that was a known place to sell cigarettes to underage kids. And we went in, we bought cigarettes, and we walked out. We were like, that was really easy. So we're sitting in the car, and I'm like, dude, we're missing an opportunity here. Let's go in and tell this guy we're gonna call the cops and tell him you sold cigarettes to an underage kid unless you give me $100. And he was like, did not speak good English, and he starts emptying the drawer. And I'm like, oh shit, I am in deep right now. I'm fucked. I'm about to get arrested. I'm robbing this place right now. Didn't see that coming. So he's unloading the drawer, calling the cops, and I'm like, okay, I just got to play it cool. The cops are coming. So they get there, and I had to answer to this in our background check for the fire department, by the way. The way this went,
we work for the Santa Monica Fire Department,
Yeah.
by the way, Josh and I.
so the cop shows up, and he goes, so wait a second, I think I understand what happened here. There's a language barrier. I was like, yes, he didn't understand. I was just trying to return these cigarettes that I didn't want because I'm underage and I shouldn't be buying them. I was doing a public service to make sure that they weren't selling cigarettes to underage kids. And the cop was like, I got it. They lost their license for 2 years. And
Robbed and blind.
ouch.
Well,
That's
once
how
again,
Josh found Bitcoin, everyone.
Yeah. Once again, we work for Santa Monica.
Santa Monica Fire.
Hey, by the way, we didn't get proper intros because it's not just Blue Collar Bitcoin podcast up here. Dom, why don't you give I'm Dan, that's Josh. We host Blue Collar Bitcoin weekly show comes out. Dom, why don't you give people a taste of who you are? What are you bringing?
So my name is Dom Bei. Pleasure to meet everyone. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Super excited to be speaking here, and it's a little bit surreal for me because many of you may have heard, if you listen to these Knuckleheads podcasts, we had a 911 call for a Swan employee last year, and he ended up getting hurt, and we took him up to the trauma center, and he ended up having a broken neck, but everything was okay. He, made a full recovery. He's here today, and that kind of got me really down a different path of working with unions, and so to be here speaking to y'all with these guys is really exciting, and so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I think what we bring to the table and the goal here is for us to give you an angle that's not typical. There's a lot of amazing speakers here, but we come from the same environment. We speak the same language. Even though we're near Chicago and he's out here, you meet another firefighter that's rowing in the same direction. It's really life-giving, and it's been great to get to know Dom. And I think our goal here in this 30 minutes is to impart why we think this technology is particularly suited for and important for our demographic. And I think that's really where we should kick off, dudes, is why is Bitcoin so wonderfully suited for a firefighter or a wage earner or an average everyday person? And, two-part question, why is the current system so fucked up for our demographic moving currently and moving into the future?
Yeah, you go way back. And we had guys like Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson that are literally rolling in their graves looking at what we've done to our monetary system in this country. I mean, back in their day, it was a gold standard. This was the way it had been back to antiquity before fiat had just shit the bed for everybody here. I mean, these two gentlemen fought the first and second national bank of the United States. Andrew Jackson caught a bullet after he refused to re-up the charter for the second national bank. And then in 1913, they finally got us with the final bullet that killed us, which is the Federal Reserve, which is still around and appears to be around now for the foreseeable future. Bitcoin basically what I'm getting at, though, is that the Cantillon effect is what's murdering the middle class in this country. The Fed is able to print money at the top that is able to give the people at the trough, at the beginning of the money printer, the spigot, give them the massive advantage that they have to spend the money with their political connections, with, we've got senators that make $150,000 to $180,000 a year that retire after 20 years worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And this, basically, it's crony capitalism with the Cantillon effect that is just murdering the middle class. And we see it at the firehouse with new guys that are in their, say, 20s, mid-20s. They can't afford a house right now anywhere. Even in podunk towns in the Midwest, houses have gotten out of reach for people. And I think you guys would agree, that the vast majority of the reason for that is the Federal Reserve, the Cantillon effect, and having to use housing as an asset to invest your money in instead of using it as a place to live.
Hear, hear.
We talked about this on the last episode. I want to do something real quick. How many people in here currently work for a wage or salary? Okay. A lot of people, right? And I'm sure a lot of people there. He mentioned Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson, I thought of a quote last time we were on the show. He said that the essence of liberty is independence, which requires the ownership of productive property. And I want you to think about that for a second, because obviously in those times, right, people produced their own goods, they owned their own product, they sold things, and they were their own entrepreneurs. For the wage earner, we're very much the only thing many of us own is our work, our own labor. And that is going under a very transformative process right now between AI, robotics, right? If you think of your work, your ability to work as an asset, that asset is facing a lot of changes right now and is looking down the pipe of a lot of changes. Bitcoin is key to owning what all of us believe and many of you believe to be one of the best pieces of productive property in the world today that is outside of the system. That's why it's important for wage earners. That's why it's pivotal that we help wage earners and workers find Bitcoin before some of them become phased out and lose their most valuable asset.
Amen. I'm going to go back to first principles here. And I know this gets talked about all the time, but when we think about the basics of the dysfunction of fiat, you have a monetary base layer that is at the centralized behest of policymakers. So inherently, the rich, the powerful, and the connected, as decades and centuries march forward, they have lopsided and outsized control over something that should be sort of a shared common language, right? Your average wage earner is not going to be the person pulling the levers to get the fresh milk out of the teat. That's just not how the system works, okay? And so as we get into more today's environment, and actually I'm going to regurgitate some Lynn Alden here. She was on with Peter a couple months ago, and she was using this word called wage anchor bias, okay? When you think about wages, the salaries that we get paid, when you are in a fiat system, right, that is inherently and necessarily mathematically inflationary, it has to be this way to hold together, you have a situation where the wage payer is at an advantage, right? Your money is losing buying power. You are guaranteed a certain wage. To make this practical, we just got like a 2-point-something% raise at our agency. That is not keeping up, and that's what we've got in the last couple of years. That is not keeping up with CPI. And Josh hinted earlier, you add in these other extremely expensive and necessary assets like housing, we are treading water at an increasing and alarming rate, okay?
Yeah.
And to finish this point real quick, here comes this asset that I think for the first time in our lifetime, and I think if you trace back several generations, is so wildly empowering for the average person, it blows your fucking mind. Not only does the everyday person, not just the middle class in America, but anyone with internet access on the planet Earth, has access to an asset with tremendous asymmetric upside in its best form, right? When you think about how assets are we're able to hold this in its best form, bare Bitcoin, the real freaking deal, no matter who you are on this planet, if you have an internet connection. And that, my friends, I know we all know it. I know we all hear it all the time, but that is wildly empowering for a demographic and a cohort of people that have been systematically cut off from having power in a monetary system.
Yeah. And what you just said is key. The empowering of people. I mean, we get a lot of criticism towards Zoomers and millennials for being lazy, being, basement dwellers in their parents' house. They've given up because they feel like the game isn't fair and the board doesn't work in their favor. So why would I try? Why would I give all my effort to something that is clearly stacked against me? Why am I going to bother? And that gets back to some of the principles of capitalism in general. As you said, Dom, property rights. Property rights are the basis of capitalism. If the money is being stolen from you insidiously, your property rights are being stolen, and you just can't have a fair game in that way. And you can't have generations of people willing to throw down putting 80-hour work weeks in for something that's disappearing right under their mattress. It's just not going to happen.
Hey, Josh, how did you know that I'm in my basement when I'm on Cafe Bitcoin messing around with self-custody? Or basement is an okay place.
I got access to your phone camera. I see a lot, Dom.
Yeah, I think what both Dan and Josh mentioned. I don't know if you guys saw the news yesterday. Kaiser employees are on strike. 75,000 employees are on strike, and I think the total in America right now is over 500,000 members are on strike. And a lot of the common theme of those strikes is keeping up with inflation, which I'm sure a lot of you remember. That used to be, or always was, a built-in part of an employer. That wasn't negotiable. That was kind of like the standard. Like, inflation went up 2%. Of course, we're going to get a 2% raise because then we begin a pay cut. So that's just, now that is contested, and that's something to pay attention to. I think it's really important. It's one of the areas I'm interested in. We're really committed to helping firefighters and workers find Bitcoin. So
here's the other comment too, because I'm guessing that there are people in here and at this conference that are sort of skeptical towards labor organization and unions. We are also skeptical of certain things that many of you would be, like things like universal basic income, all these mechanisms for artificial insertion of liquidity. But here's the fact of the matter, and we said this earlier. When a system is unfair, people are going to look for a fix. Like the analogy I would draw is if you have a deep flesh wound and all you have sitting around is Band-Aids, that's what you're going for. You need more, but you're going to go for whatever you have. And so as the system is increasingly unfair, you're going to have people in the middle and lower classes clamoring and demanding more liquidity get inserted from below. So if you're someone that's sitting here bitching and moaning about universal basic income, we're aligned with you in a lot of ways. But when you do the math on all of the artificial slop that's been thrown in the system, the vast majority of it has come from above. And so labor organization is a mechanism for us from below saying, hey, we're going to get together and try to balance the scales here. The holistic overarching point here, though, is that we do need to rebuild the entire foundation. We don't need to go back to floor one. We don't even need to rip up floorboards. We need new concrete at the base of the house that's more equitable for everybody involved. And I think that's the sort of, some would call it grandiose. We think that's the practical vision of Bitcoin, and we hope where a lot of these incentives lead. And I think the three of us would agree, this thing is going to be fairly binary in our estimation. It is going to either accrue tremendous jaw-dropping value or it is not. It is going to be one of those two scenarios. I don't envision a middle ground, and it would be our desire that the middle and lower class, the everyday earner, is educated and informed about this technology at the right time to be able to reap the most benefits.
Yeah, I concur with that. We talk about all the time, how's orange pilling going for you guys in the firehouse?
For us, we've been at it for a long time. It's going okay. But I'd say we hit a plateau.
Do you guys have any nicknames yet?
We hit a plateau.
Yeah, we've hit a plateau.
Do they have nicknames for you involving Bitcoin that are like
derogative terms?
You? Yeah.
Are you saying that we have derogative terms for each other at the firehouse now?
I'm just, they call me Bitcoin Bay now at the firehouse. They go, oh,
Dude,
here comes Bitcoin Bay. I said, well, there's
that's
actually
the
an
best they got.
organization called Bitcoin Bay, so like you're violating copyright stuff.
This is a good question though. Like, how do we do this? Because everybody's in a different environment. Everybody's got a different demographic you're rubbing shoulders with. We're in the zoo that is a firehouse. Josh and I have been doing this we've been orange pilling firemen for coming up on 6 years here.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of them, but a lot of people still think we're complete degenerate clowns, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah, and it doesn't help that we have a bunch of actual degenerate clowns
Debatable.
buying XRP at the firehouse. Like, still, like, you didn't figure this out like 5 years ago. Where are you at?
Did you guys, I know we talk about this a lot. How was orange pilling folks or helping people that obviously showed peak interest during the top of the bull market, right? Everyone always comes to you when it's up and they go, come on, how do I capture these gains? How do I like what do I do? Like, just tell me what to do. I do it. And then tomorrow I have a house.
Dude, that's inevitable, man. Like, I think you were there, Dan. We had like a tool room meeting in 2017 in like December 15th, like right as this thing was cresting that 18,000 mark. And it was complete degeneracy. People just throwing everything they had at it. It was bananas. And they lost a shit ton of money. And those people didn't say a word until 2021 when it like re-breached that $20,000 mark. Yeah. And that is a story as old as time. You know, humans, we're not interested in anything on sale when it comes to buying financial assets. We're interested in everything when it's super expensive, and then we just completely lose the plot when it gets cheap and on sale. It's just our psychology, and our psychology works 100% against us. And everyone in this room that's here right now, if you're interested in this thing after the last couple of years, you are in the 0.1% very likely of the people that have been interested in this, and you're doing it right. Like, you should. I hope you all bought at 15,000. Like, but if you haven't, like, DCAing now or buying chunks now is, in my view, an amazing time to be buying.
Realistically, though, I think, and I think this is going to resonate with some people in here. When you get enamored with Bitcoin and you really digest the implications of this thing, you really want the people that you love and care for to own this. Like, that's a measure of legit conviction. When you get to a point where you look at your brother, your parents, your figurative brothers at the firehouse, and it's not just fun and games anymore. You look people in the eye and you say, I want you to own this because I want you to have more freedom in the future, more control over your life. I want you to be able to provide for your family in a way you wouldn't have if you didn't own this asset. The painful reality, though, is that most people don't buy Bitcoin when you tell them to. And that's not going to change. I'm not here to tell you like, oh, hey, we've got this awesome hook that's going to get the fish in the boat every time. We don't have that, okay? And that's where I think you got to be Johnny Appleseed, and you just got to start spreading seed, figuratively, not literally. Spreading seed.
He meant that as literally as you took it.
You need to spread seed all over the firehouse as voraciously as you can.
Don't pick up stray socks at the firehouse
I'm talking
either.
trees. Seriously, get your heads out of the gutter. The
Talking
point is, we think Bitcoin's going to do marvelous things, and it's going to be around for a long time. And so when you plant that seed at 27,000, well, when it goes up again, price is often the great teacher. How many people in this room bought Bitcoin when the price was going parabolic for the first time? Oh, come on. We got liars in here.
Liars.
First heard about Bitcoin in a bull market. Raise your hand. Most people, okay? And half of you are lying that don't have your hands in the air.
Yeah,
so when that market hits again and they're thinking, you know, one of Dom's buddies is thinking, Dom's been barking about this Bitcoin thing for 5 years. That's when they're receptive to the resources, right? They may not be receptive the moment you tell them to go read the Bitcoin Standard, but you better believe when that thing starts going through the roof again, they're going to come to my boy Dommy and say, yo, how do I get some of this?
I make them work for it, like because you got to be like Pai Mei when they come at you in the bull market for Bitcoin, right? Like you're gonna work, young grasshopper. like go learn self-custody and then come back to me. Like if you're serious, I'll invest the time. But if you're looking for price action gambling tips, go listen to somewhere else, you know.
Dom, you got to tell us about Proof of Workforce before this thing's up.
That's true.
We got to get into that.
So Proof of Workforce is a nonprofit that I started that these guys are members of the board. And I'm trying to get them to put their last name on the website because, you know, you need that on a nonprofit.
We like to pretend we're anonymous.
But
I'm wearing sunglasses. You can't tell who I am.
Yeah. Some stats for you. Before I explain Proof of Workforce, let me throw you some quick statistics. 14.5 million union workers in the United States. 207 million union workers in the world, 5.5 trillion in pension assets in the US. And depending on what global pension portfolio you're looking at, all of them combined, it can be anywhere from like 20 trillion to the 40s. And so 48 trillion dollars is the top. This is a group that, in my opinion, is primed for Bitcoin adoption. And again, I want you to think less about these big unions that are like somewhat involved in the fiat system. I want you to think about your small union, your local union, which ultimately is a collective of individuals working together to take care of each other, make sure they get good wages, working conditions, etc. They also exchange money with each other frequently. Joe, you buy the coffee mug. Okay, I'll write you a check next week. I'll buy the dishware. You cut me a check for that, right? They are primed for a circular economy. But most importantly, our nonprofit locates the Bitcoiner in workforce organizations, groups, clubs, unions, and we give that person the tools and resources to then bring adoption to their union. Remember those numbers? It's a multiplier effect. If you get think of like a 500-person union that says, you know what? We learned about this. We took our time. We did it right. We're now going to add it to the balance sheet responsibly. What do those members then do? You, the leaders of the union, you're adding Bitcoin responsibly for our future and well-being. Should I be learning about this thing? Yes, you absolutely should. And then the education comes in. So that's our mission. These guys are on the board. I got board members everywhere planted in the audience.
Dom spreads his seed wide.
But this is an important thing. Addition, I see Foss over there. We do a show where we have pensions come on because, as you know, pensions need to find Bitcoin. A lot of them are in distress. A lot of them have been burned by the system. So that's proof of workforce, a rough overview.
Yeah. Hey, we were just talking to the guys at Simply Bitcoin. And one of the questions we talked about was, he was basically like, give us your 30-second sales pitch to sell someone Bitcoin. And I've been rereading the book Sapiens, and I think this is a good way for anyone listening, if they haven't thought of like a good condensed way to sell this to somebody to help them understand it. The idea is simple. It's everything that we have, every corporation, every country in this world, everything besides the individual person, that entity themselves, is just an idea. A corporation is just a group of people that has a common goal and an idea they strive at. A country is just that on a grander scale. Every single thing we do is some part of it's an imaginary thing that we make reality. Bitcoin is an imaginary thing that we're making reality. We're making the best imaginary money real. The dollar is imaginary. It's literally just a piece of paper we all believe has value. Bitcoin is better imaginary money.
Make imaginary money real again. I think we got to come off here in a second, but I want to close this real quick.
No, we're staying up for a long
Yeah, this is
time.
hijacked, dude. Conference is
Don't
shut
try,
down. Everybody
Jacob.
get in here.
Oh, 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes. Bro,
2
riff,
minutes.
hard
Hold
riff,
on.
hard riff.
Okay,
Bitcoin's
bad
good.
joke.
Bitcoin's
Wait,
awesome.
wait. I want to say something. This is for a Dom Spike coming in here in a second. Dom said this first, and I'm stealing from because we had Dom on the show this last week.
Dude, Dan, you never give anyone credit when you steal something.
Right here, Dommy boy. So we, the three of us, deeply believe that even compared to like the average individual, firefighters in particular, a lot of middle-class wage earners have an outsized amount of fiat exposure. Why don't you hit on that for a second?
Yeah, so this is a good orange pilling exercise for people. Think about if you're a wage earner, you earn wages from a company that is in the fiat system. You have a pension that is in the fiat system. Maybe you have a piece of property that is also very affected by the fiat system, right? The banks, the central planners. You might have gold, which you think is immune from the system, but as we have seen in the news, is very and talks there in the big kid stage is very easily manipulated by bankers, central planners, etc. What do you own outside of that system? If everything you have is in that system, what do you have outside of it? I have never seen anything that checks that box like Bitcoin. And as I learn more, it checks that box even better. And I ask people all the time, let me know if there's something else outside of that system that I can take my very valuable time and hard work and invest and be a part of that because I'm very interested if there's something other than Bitcoin that checks that box. I have not found that until I found Bitcoin. So
Hedge your fiat exposure.
thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Oh, hi. Do you have your ticket to the next Pacific Bitcoin Festival? Join us as we shine a light on the best of Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. Visit pacificbitcoin.com for the best deal on tickets now.